And it says that we are live on a Thursday. Another episode of the Mattriarchy. I am, of course, the host and your host, Matthew Reese, coming to you from a basement in western Nebraska. I am joined tonight by Aaron, and I'm not going to say his last name yet because I'm sure I'll get it wrong. And Paula, who will be our primary guest for hour 2, but she's come to hang out because she's pleasant, and that's nice. How are you guys doing this evening?
Doing great, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm well. Paula?
I'm all right. I can barely hear Aaron, though.
Yeah. Let's see if I can adjust his volume at all. And see here. Give me just a second. It doesn't look like... Hang on.
Is that better?
I'm not sure if it's better or not. So I'm sharing the link out, and then we'll also see if people show up. Then we can get some feedback from the chat about how the audio goes, and that can be fun. So
yeah, it could be because I'm in the car.
It could be. But you don't sound like you're from around here, Aaron.
No, I'm originally from Britain. Been in Scotland for a good 10 plus years.
Okay.
And I moved to the States for work.
Okay. All right. If you don't mind me asking, what kind of work do you do?
I work in with the measurement lasers. So I measure and align parts for defense.
Okay.
Currently building missile tubes for the submarines.
Wow. That's very detailed workout. Not a lot of margin for error, huh? So, and you said you were driving. If you gotta have a long commute to and from work, or how does that pan out?
I work in Louisville during the week, and then at the weekends I go home to my family in Mayfield, which is about 3.5 hour, 4 hour drive.
Okay. And so do you get like 3-day weekends out of the deal, or how does that work out?
Yeah, every other weekend is a 3-day weekend because we do like 9-hour shifts Monday to Thursday, and then Friday is like 8 hours. So we do like 40 hours, but it's split between kind of over 2 weeks. So we get like every other Friday is off.
Okay.
This is my long weekend. Woo-hoo!
Yeah. Nice. So.
Yeah, I've had hoped to be at home by the time this call came through, but unfortunately an emergency came up at work, so I did a nice 12-hour shift.
You gotta love those work emergencies, right?
Yeah, nice 12-hour shift and then a nice 4-hour drive. Beautiful.
Oh man, I think I'd have to take a nap in between them. That's a long time to be at the desk. Of course, I don't know if you. I work at a desk, right? I'm in human services, so I spend my day talking and then typing about what I've talked about, right? So I just get real brain foggy after a day because it's just so much, stationariness. And then if I have to drive on top of that, I'm useless. So, but of course,
it's not too bad where I work. I'm kind of on my feet, doing the inspecting a lot of the parts, so it keeps me active.
And so that's of course, this isn't what you came on to talk about, but I find this kind of thing interesting. So is it like it's a big old factory where they put that stuff together, right?
Yeah, it's a big factory shop. There's a lot of welding going on. they have all the welding machines and where they do all the main.
Makes sense. So now, of course, you came to talk about a comic. You guys are is it crowdfunding right now, or what's the let us know what's your thing and what can I look up to show people?
Yes, it's called Enenra. It's a horror graphic novel. The Kickstarter is primarily for issues 3 and 4, from production and printing. But you can get 1 and 2 as well. So pretty much the whole first story arc.
Okay.
And it's at about 65% funded at the moment, with about 9 pages.
Okay. So spell that for me.
Enenra.
Enenra. And it's on Kickstarter?
Yes, it's. And you can, if you go to the campaign page, you can get the first 12 pages of the first issue for free.
Nice.
There's a link on the front page, so you should be able to click on that. It'll take you directly to the Dropbox to download the first 12 pages.
Okay. Well, I have the link here, and I'm going to go ahead and throw that in the chat for folks to take a look at here. The only thing is I can't share the link. I just thought about that. I can't think I can share the link because I might lose you because I'm sharing your screen through the messenger.
Okay.
Oh, drat. But
Technology.
oh man, I think I shared that.
No, I see it.
Oh, so, but yeah,
We lose Aaron.
no, I think Aaron is still here, but I don't.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure that I can share the Kickstarter page on the restream, but I won't lose Aaron. I just don't think he'll show up to broadcast. That's the only thing. So,
but the link is in the chat. I see it.
The link is in the chat, and so you have it talking about it being a horror comic, kind of a zombie thing. What was your?
No zombies. No zombies.
No zombies. Okay. Okay.
No zombies.
Okay. I guess when I saw the World War Z in there, I was like post-apocalyptic. Da 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 da. Tell us what is the? You got the 12-page teaser, which is awesome. I actually love that as a feature, because it gives people something to sink their teeth into. Right. It's one thing to put
the idea behind it.
So.
People just some kind of idea of what they're backing and see if they like it.
Yeah, if I was a put together and organized host, I would have read the preview ahead of time, but I didn't pick up on that yet. So I've been chasing head to tail for like the last couple of weeks. So so I have all sorts of excuses for being terrible, but it's just a fact. So give us a little elevator pitch. What is up with the name?
The name, it's Japanese. It means smoke demon.
Okay.
But there's a good reason for that, but you won't find out for a while yet, unfortunately. No spoilers. The main storyline is the storyline is split into 2 kind of sections. The first part of each issue will basically show you a glimpse of the future, where you follow various survivors in a post-apocalyptic world full of creatures, and pretty much most of humanity are dead. The second part, which is the main body of the storyline, follows Dr. Richie and his team of scientists, doctors, as they investigate a virus they find on a British Airways flight which arrives in Heathrow Airport. So it follows their struggle to understand the virus and why it kills some people and yet cocoons and mutates others. So it's a very very graphic, very horror orientated. It's not gory or anything like that, but there's a lot of suspenseful kind of horror in it.
So in terms of it's not gory in the way that like a lot of entertainment uses gore as as kind of a I don't know, a cheap ploy, but you're saying it has some realism and intensity to the imagery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've tried to keep it as real as I can, and the artist Ezekiel has been brilliant. I cannot praise his talents more, enough. He's really amazing at what he's done, and the color palette fits the storyline to perfection.
It's weird. Like, you don't know, color is one of those things where like you don't necessarily notice it until you notice it. Does that make sense? It's like when you're looking at it, color is either bad, but it's not usually bad. It's usually just sort of passable. But every once and again, you get somebody who's like, it just nail it, and it like takes it like up a level, right? I was recently I started rereading Dark Knight Returns, right? And in the preface, Frank Miller goes on talking about how Varney's color like was revolutionary to him when he saw how she applied it, and it was just like I realized that my art was I hadn't really realized it, but it was only halfway there. It was only half existed until Varney colored it, and I was like, that's an interesting dynamic. I think they ended up marrying too, but I might be wrong about that. So maybe he's biased, but I do think that but I have noticed a lot of times you have it where in a lot of comics where the color is just there and it's functional, but then every once in a while you get somebody who's it just like zings, and it's just a whole different ball game.
Yeah, because he uses shadows very well, which because originally it was supposed to be kind of a grayscale to the comic, but every time he'd finish the page, he'd always go back to the previous ones to tweak and change the background color slightly, and when he's a very big perfectionist, so when he finally gives the pages, he always goes back to tweak them, and it's brilliant. The color, even just highlighting one image, like there's a backpack of a girl sitting at the airport waiting for the flight. There's a kind of a backstory. The flight's doomed because it's the flight that the virus arrives at Heathrow, but she's there waiting to board, and you see the pink backpack on her back, and it just stands out so brilliant.
Yeah, cool. So, what was it now? You have a highly technical career, right?
Yes.
And then you have this artistic hobby, so to speak, or second job, or however you look at it. I'm not trying to put you in a box, but what was it that kind of pushed you into this idea of writing?
My friends, really. We used to go to the cinema quite often. It was like once a week to our local, and I'd always kind of mention, bad points of the film. I wouldn't have done it this way. I would have done it that way. And I think they got pretty much tired of me slating all these movies and told me to write one out myself. So I did. I even converted 2 of the films I wrote to novels.
Okay.
And that's how Enenra started out, as a kind of a TV series. I wrote it as a pilot for a 4-series TV series. I got representation from an agency based in Australia, and through them one of the agents actually mentioned Enenra would be a pretty kick-ass graphic novel, and they kind of got us in touch with various artists, and one of them was Ezekiel. That's how we met.
Oh, that's actually really interesting. Talking about the whole agent idea. We were on our show last week. We got off. I mean, actually, I'm not sure if it was during the show or afterwards, because Tim and the Metal and I talked for like 2 hours after the show last week. And I don't think I don't know if you regularly or have ever seen my show, Aaron, but it's usually pretty low key. And then there's chatting, and sometimes we just talk when everybody's gone. So, but yeah, anyway, we're talking about that, and it's one of those things where in most comic books in the world, there isn't the same kind of artistic representation or agents that there are in film or movies or music or that kind of thing. Mostly it's just, people building those kind of, and Metal says it was after we were no longer live. So there you go.
Yeah, it was a very strange kind of meeting, because the first couple of artists I kind of got introduced to, one of them actually had more of an anime feel to him, which I didn't really feel was the right kind of tone for what I was wanting.
Yeah, and so to be specific, when you're talking about the anime feel, you mean like the big-eyed kind of those very cartoony, like Astro Boy kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the feel he was going for, and it just didn't sit right. So we kind of just I kind of left it for a little bit, didn't think much of it, and then Ezekiel came on board with the agency to do some of their artwork, like posters and covers and things like that. And then he got, past my script, and he, loved it, loved the storyline. And he wanted to do a bit of horror of portfolio. So it kind of just fell together, really.
Cool. That's neat. So is this your first comics project?
Yes, yeah. This is my first graphic novel, but I have probably another 6 different projects on the back burner.
Okay. Wow. So when you're did you? I mean, how any of your friends that kind of pushed you at this direction we're talking about, have they been following the comic as it's been released?
Yes, they have. One of them has been, or 2 of them actually have backed the previous Kickstarter, and they've backed this one as well.
So
they're very keen to see how it leads and where it goes.
And are they pleased with what you've done, or they just use it more excuses to rib on you?
No, they've been pretty encouraging and supportive. Obviously, mates are mates, so they do dig into me on occasion. But overall, I think they're pretty happy with it.
Good.
And, I'm definitely proud of what we've done with the first 2 issues, and I'm really looking forward to continuing the story.
So, did you have any kind of like education about creative writing, or is it something you've picked up along the way? How did that pan out?
Kind of just picked up along the way. I've always been told I've been creative since I was, young. Just never had a kind of outage for it. So yeah, it just kind of writing just kind of fell into what I wanted to do, and I've loved every minute of it. I write novels, graphic novels, scripts, so I pretty much dabble in most things.
Okay, very cool. And so this is I noticed when I was looking up the crowdfund, which I will drop in the chat again in a minute to the site there, so people can check that out. That this is not your first campaign. Is it your third? Am I counting that right?
This is the 3rd campaign, the second for Enenra.
Okay.
The very first one I did was for a anime manga comic, and I kind of jumped into the deep end way too quick. I didn't have any of the stuff ready, and I didn't really know what I was doing. So it was a kind of a disaster, really. Well, I've still got that on my computer waiting. So I may come back and revisit it, in a couple of years when I have more time on my hands.
And so, you're gonna have you're publishing it as issues at first. You've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you can buy a bundled set of them. Is 4 going to be the whole novel, or is it going to be? Is there more to come?
Oh, there's lots more to come. There's 4 story arcs. Each one has 4 issues.
Okay.
So there'll be 16 issues in total, which I will convert each 4 into like a big graphic novel.
Yeah, big.
Should be 4.
Big collected edition. Okay. So when it's done, it'll be a trilogy of 3 volumes, 3 or 4. 4? Yeah.
4 volumes.
Paula's like, you're wrong. It's 4. He clearly said 4. Yeah. I told you I'm not that good right now. I'm useless.
It's a Thursday. It's almost the weekend. I figured.
Yeah. So, and normally, in my job, I work 4 9-hour days, right? And so we have a 36-hour work week. Normally Thursday is my Friday, but I took today off and I'm going in tomorrow instead. So like, I believe like part of my mind thinks it's the weekend, but I have to get up in the morning anyway. So I'm extra disorganized today.
Oh, you're good and scrambled.
I did it to myself. What do you do? So I got ahead of myself half an hour ago. I was going to have you say your last name so I wouldn't butcher it, and I never did.
Did you want me to say it now then?
Yeah, go for it, Aaron. How do you say that? Wroblewski. Okay. That's not so tough.
Yeah. Right. Once you hear it, it's fine.
Once you've heard it, it's perfectly understandable. So is that Polish?
Yes,
Okay.
Very good.
Okay. I thought
my grandparents came over during World War II, and they during the war they loved Britain, so they decided to stay.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, very cool. So, and how long have you been in America? This is totally off topic, but now we've got talking about this. I gotta follow this train down.
I have been in the US for just over 2.5 years.
Okay. Cool. How do you like it?
Some bits I like, some bits I don't, some bits I miss of home, but majority is pretty good.
And you were in Scotland for quite a while, or how long was that?
Yeah, I was in the Air Force for 6.5 years, and most of that was up in Scotland. And I loved it up there, so I bought a house and pretty much lived up there for probably about 16 years, give or take.
Wow.
On and off. Yeah.
So there is quite a difference between Kentucky and Scotland. I mean,
my wife is from Kentucky.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I got my green card, to her.
So
now I've got my green card. I've been here. I can ditch it. I hope she's not listening. She's gonna kill me.
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, that's a scary thing to say over the internet, man. Internet never forgets. But additionally, but yeah, that's a thing. But so is the. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling over myself. One of the big differences, I would imagine, of course, they're both kind of rain. They can be both rainy places. For my time in Kentucky, which was not long, I was passing through, but it was pretty wet. But man, summer in Kentucky is miserably hot.
It's so hot.
Oh yeah.
It's stiflingly, unbearably hot. So I've been in Saudi Arabia. I know hot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in Saudi, it's like a dry heat.
Mm-hmm.
There's no humidity. But in Kentucky, oh my God, I could die.
Well, and that's basically how it is out here where I live. I live in a semi-arid, the high plains, right? Where we're leading up to the Rocky Mountains, but it's very high. It's above 4,000 feet. It's very dry most of the time, and so our summers, it's not. We usually have 1 or 2 days above 110 in the summer, but high 90s, low hundreds is normal for a summer day here. But it's got like maybe 20% humidity tops, right? So it's not bad as far as that goes. But man, I used to live in Arkansas. Oh man. It's like get me an aqua lung. It's terrible. I can't stand it. So
well, it certainly beats Scotland. You don't even get into the 80s very often.
Yeah. But that's again, I mean, humidity is a whole different game when it's chilly than it is when it's hot. It's of course, when I was, like I said, when I was in Arkansas, they had where I lived in Arkansas was very, very wet, northwest corner, I mean. And in the winters we'd have these winds that would tear through town, and it didn't matter how many clothes you were wearing, it was going to go right through. And you just felt that chill no matter what you were wearing. And that was because of the humidity. So there you go. The metal there. He's one of our guests here. He lives in middle of Texas. And he's sharing his middle of his summer. So we got off on talking about the weather last week. Apparently, I'm old. I talk about weather now.
Weather's weird now.
Talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Well, you have a lot more to talk about in the UK with weather because it's always changing.
So, but anyway, back to the comics. So you have the virus and all that kind of stuff. How do you go into looking at the characters that you're working on? Because we've talked a little bit about overall plot stuff, but like, do you have a set of main characters, or does it go between scenes? How do you kind of play with that?
Yeah, the main characters are Richard, Jessica, Eleanor, Jacob, and Alan. They're all doctors working for like the British government, and they kind of liaise with the CDC, well, the European equivalent of the CDC, and so they're usually the ones contacted when the virus outbreaks, pretty much anywhere in the world. So you kind of meet Eleanor when she's like flying back from a Ebola outbreak in like Africa. So she's kind of rushing to get back to her team as they deal with this virus outbreak in Heathrow. So she's like the mother hen of the group. So she kind of looks after everybody, while Richard is the main kind of character, and like he's in charge of everything. He's the liaison between the team and the government.
So what would you consider to be kind of your inspirations on the way you've dealt with the characters, whether particular bits of fiction or real people you knew that you kind of worked at to shape your team of doctors?
I think primarily it's from like TV. I've always liked the NCIS and kind of like Grey's Anatomy. I got into that through my wife because she forced me to watch it, and I kind of got hooked. So I always wanted a apocalyptic kind of storyline, but one that actually shows you how it happens. Because usually it's like set years after, like The Walking Dead. It's like you see it like a glimpse beforehand, and then bang, he wakes up and it's zombies everywhere. So you never show really how it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my idea of when it arrives and how people start dealing with it and how it spreads.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of the reason you might never see it is I think it's don't think it's an easy thing to write that kind of a drama in a way that is both accurate and interesting, right? I mean, I don't mean this as an insult to anybody who happens to be in medicine, but there's a reason not everybody's a doctor, right? Is it? It's not. It can be fascinating, but it's not what I would call interesting, in terms of broad appeal, anyway. And it's also highly technical, so you have to have that kind of a laser focus to do it really well. And it's also only going to appeal to a certain kind of people. So it's I had earlier today, I was looking on the internet, there was a chat that went on, and somebody said that industrial societies and the future of humanity would make for a bad screenplay. And my response is, that's a setting, that's not a story. If you're just going to tell the details about something like that, that's a textbook. That's of future history or whatever, right? You got to have the characters and the people that are involved in it to actually, that's the story. The story isn't the virus outbreak. It's, how is it affecting this group of doctors or this group of civilians or this group of politicians and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. The virus is a MacGuffin in this case. So
yeah, the virus isn't the main character. It's the people who are affected by it. Mm-hmm. Like some of the main characters and like the small supporting characters, they're all wanting to find out what this virus is and how it spreads. Like, is it a weapon? Mm. Is it extraterrestrial? Is it something from the dinosaurs age? They don't know why this has appeared and why it has never appeared before. So there's a lot of questions that will get answered eventually.
Well, and when you were describing it to me, things that popped into my head are things like House, right? I don't know if you've seen that show, but
I love that show.
Yeah, it's a great show. But it's that kind of thing where, like, because of the dynamic personalities, this kind of highly technical stuff becomes super interesting. Or in the first several seasons of the X-Files, where they really leaned heavy on Scully's being a doctor, right? I mean, I should say it was always a part of the show, but it became a heavy, it was leaned on very specifically to give her gravitas within the show. So it didn't just seem like a conspiracy show. So the Metal says, I'm going to write an 1,800-page textbook about the history of this universe, and you're going to like it.
Whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not. That's great. But yeah, no, I think that's some good stuff. So Grey's Anatomy, your wife's a big fan.
Oh yeah, she's a huge fan.
I started watching Grey's Anatomy, but after season 3, I couldn't take it anymore. So I just couldn't.
I watched it all the way from the beginning.
Whoa.
Season 16 or something like that. I jumped in and who's that? What are they talking about? Who's that? Why are you crying? Really?
Aaron, I don't know if you're going through a tunnel or something, but something happened on the line.
Taking over.
Yeah. Oh my goodness! It sounded like a 1980s after school special about Ouija boards or something just started happening. Yeah, the Metal's got it on all the money there. Did the Balrog just walk in? And the funniest thing about all that is you're talking about Grey's Anatomy, and we can still gotta make it out through garbled. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be. I'm not trying to be mean. It's just really funny to me. It's that
Then
high-low divide that makes comedy work. Okay.
You set me off. Oh no.
Yeah. So, man, that is the wackiest technical problem we've ever had on the show.
Oh man.
So oh man, it's still going. I'm really stunned. Yeah. I just don't even know where to pick things up again now.
Well, I mean, you did say it was like a horror noir comic.
Yeah. And
Like,
now that,
go through your description again in that voice.
well, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to go ahead and say for those of you guys who tuned in later, part of the reason that this weird glitch happened was that Aaron couldn't get on the restream directly. So we're actually screen sharing him from a Facebook Messenger call. So there's like a dozen internet providers involved. Not really a dozen. It's like 4. But still, that's I'm sure part of what's going on with all of that. But it is hilarious to me. Yeah. Man, I'm just so stuck. I can't get over it. I've lost my entire train of interviewing. I don't know what else to say now. Oh man, I didn't even understand you there, but it was hilarious still. Okay, I'm gonna say, why don't we try? I'm gonna go to the other thing. Try having you. We'll call you back again and see if we can reset the connection. We'll do that. That distorted is just killing me. I know it's hilarious. Okay. I'm gonna call you right back, Aaron. Okay, we'll see if we can't make that work. We're gonna close that. And then
not only was it funny, but it was creeping me out too.
I just expected horrible little puppets to start showing up and gremlining or whatever.
Oh man.
Well, while I am getting the other thing going here, no, we'll do that one. Here we go. Look, this is the Kickstarter for the page, which I will also put in the chat. And that's the kind of palette he was talking about on the thing. And I'll kind of scroll down a little bit. We can take a look at that before I try to give Aaron a call back. It does have the 12-page teaser, the first 12 pages, which I have not looked at, but I definitely intend to because it looks a lot of fun. So there you have that. I wonder if I can play this video while I go on the other scene and try to get Aaron on board again. Let's try that. Oh, it's just 8 seconds. Well, that was I thought it would be long. It does look really good, but it's just 8 seconds. So, did the audio on that come through okay?
I mean, I did hear it, but I don't know if it was distorted or not.
Okay. Let's do that's a minute and a half. Let's see what that does.
Hello, my name is Aaron. I'm the writer and creator of Enenra, with issues 1 and 2 complete from a previously successful campaign. It is to fund production and printing costs, issues 3 and 4, and anything we raise over the goal will go straight into issues 5.
I can't make out the audio. Can you?
Struggling in a post-apocalyptic world. The main part of the story is set in the present time. A British Airways flight enters Heathrow airspace, yet all attempts at communication fails. Pressured by an influential third party, the aircraft is allowed to land. Dr. Richard Marin and his team are contacted and together gain entry to the aircraft. But inside, a horrific nightmare awaits. Bodies are cocooned while others have been torn apart. Issues 3 and 4 will continue to follow Dr. Richard and his team as they investigate the British Airways flight and the growing threat of the virus.
Well, there you that's something. I'm not sure if any of that went through, but I heard it. So, oh man, I'm juggling tabs. I am so confused at the minute. Okay. We're ringing. We're yeah. Are you with us again, Aaron?
I am indeed.
Hey, that sounds like a normal person. Now, let me see if I can't share the screen again here. All right. Oh, wait, hang on. Okay.
You're
Well,
back.
we did.
I think you're back.
Aaron, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Actually, I'm not sure. Maybe you can't hear Paula. Maybe that's something that is going on with that.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you going, yeah, very, very quietly.
Very quietly.
Yeah,
I'll bet
you're
it's
pretty
just,
quiet for me.
I wonder if you guys are each picking it up through my microphone only.
That could be it.
That could be it. And then, so who knows? Who knows what will happen? We could go back. I could go back and watch this later, and everybody on all of the chat are just being really polite. I don't know. But anyway, let's I did just watch through. We put the video on your Kickstarter while I was getting you called back up here. And I heard it. I don't know if anyone in the audience did or not. Paula said she had a hard time making it out. I gotta get like better at this whole thing. I learned the whole OBS thing and actually put elements in live rather than trust these online platforms. I will someday learn this. Anyway, but yeah, your page looks really sharp. It's well put together. The video was engaging, and you did a good job of many of the things that we talked about. Summing it up on the thing is, it sounds really cool. So, how long is your campaign running?
The campaign was I think there's like 9 days left. It was a 60-day campaign.
Okay.
So I think last time I checked this morning, it was like 65% funded.
So, let's see. Yeah, it's that looks about right. That looks about right. 66% of its goal is what it says.
Oh, okay. Must have gone up since this morning.
So yeah, but I mean that's still not bad. 8 days to go. So.
No racket.
Oh man, I know, right? And of course, Kickstarter is all or nothing.
Yes.
So that's an option with that.
Typically, they do pick up in the last week, though.
Well, we can hope. I think it's a fun looking project. So let's actually take a look at some of the stuff you've got. You can buy PDFs of each of the issues for $3. Is that it, or just the first issue?
The first issue is $3. It's like an introduction. So if you're new to the series, you can just put $3 down and get the digital first issue. Pretty much almost as soon as the Kickstarter is over, I'll just I've got the first 2 issues ready to go.
Okay. And so $7 for the new stuff, for 3 and 4 of the digital copies of those, and you're $10 for the print copies, huh?
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty good. You can get 1 and 2 or 3 and 4 for 10 apiece. I mean, for 10 for each of them. That's actually that's pretty reasonable. How long are your issues, out of curiosity?
The first issue is 30 pages. The second issue is about 28.
Nice. And what do you end up having to charge for shipping?
The shipping in the US is probably going to be about $5, but it's all done through Mattriachy, because I was estimating a lot on the previous Kickstarter. I wanted to try and get better efficiency, better rates for their backers. So as soon as the Kickstarter is done, they'll get a survey from Mattriachy, and they'll kind of narrow down the price for everybody.
Cool. That's pretty good. That's pretty cool. So, now the other thing is, are 3 and 4 are those complete, or are they still in process? I don't know. Aaron, you still with us? Well, I see Paula, and Twitless has just showed up invisibly. How's it going?
I just checked my Twitter and it was like, "Hey."
It's fine, man. I've been so bad this week, so
I have no idea what we're talking about, so I just showed up for no reason.
Yeah. So, well, it looks like Aaron's call failed. That's the screen's still on there, so we're gonna try to redial. We'll see what happens there. Aaron Roblowski is done a comic that is a pandemic like survival horror kind of a thing. Yeah. Sounds kind of cool.
Are you using Skype?
No, this is Messenger.
Oh, okay. So, wait,
yeah.
What's Messenger?
It's the Facebook Messenger.
Oh, okay.
He can't. He's just dropped. He said it might lose connection. That's probably just what happened. So
you missed the epic, scary, demonic robot voice.
Yeah,
I think I might have heard that for a minute.
Oh man,
it was something else, man. We had a whole thing.
Oh, Captain Cummings is here.
Captain Cummings is here. But yeah,
I had no idea that was Captain Cummings, and then it was like, oh wait a second.
Yeah, it is.
Is that because he got banned on YouTube at one time, or is he just like trying to rebrand?
No, he's got a story. I mean, a channel, 10-cent story. And it's part of a long-term project he wants to do. Looking at the history of comics as the American story. So that it's not just that, because the take is the name is a take on that the 10-cent terror or whatever it was, that book, or 10-cent horror or whatever it was. That was about the scare,
right?
But his thing is that
because I seen he did some work with like Seduction of the Innocent with Wortham and stuff.
Yeah, yep. And his kind of his whole thing is that it's like, that was part of the American story, but that didn't stop comics from anything. They still were, widely sold and wildly popular and influential, and that's
from the reading I've done, it was actually the which is it's weird how things work out, but it was Wortham who technically saved superheroes. Because comics were leaning heavily into the horror and the crime genres, and it was all of that, the panic that made the comic book publishers kind of stay with the safe superhero content, because they were actually they were hitting a lull at the time.
And that's actually something that he and I have been talking about, looking at different ways of researching. I have a personal theory that I think Wortham was not as effectual as comic professionals wanted people to think he was, because I think there were more internal workings than that, and it's just a suspicion. But I think there was more politics that was about, how do we corner other people out of our market, because it's interesting.
I attended a panel. And there were some very sad things that went on at the time. I attended a panel that Craig Fisher from Appalachian State, and he's done some studies on this as well. And he was doing some studies just into some of the artists and who were doing art, stories and comics at that time. And he said he was talking about some of the EC comic guys, and he was like, "Here's a guy. He was a fantastic comic book sequential art storyteller, and after the basically the comics code, he never did work again. He went into advertising, found a job there, and just stopped. So we never saw any more comics from him. And there were some sad moments like that, because there were people who worked for EC Comics and stuff who were just, it's like Thanos snapped out of existence."
And one of the things that I recently ran across was that after the Senate hearings, there was such a hubbub within the industry, and what's his name? Gaines got everybody together, and they said, "Look, we know, all of us, every single person at this table, we know that comics don't hurt kids, or we wouldn't be selling them. We also know we're not just selling comics to kids. If we put some money down, it doesn't even have to be a lot of money, but it's real money down, and here's my cash on the barrelhead. Let's hire some scientists. Let's actually have this looked over, and we're going to find out that we're right and Wortham is panicking, because that is just the way it is." I mean, like DC Comics had and this is unrelated to that directly, but EC Comics had a peer of Wortham's on staff to go over their stuff. They were aware of what was going on to begin with, and she was Laurette Bender. I'm going to massacre her name. But she was, this is something that Captain was writing on and was talking about. But that she actually spoke at the Senate hearing, and her take is basically, kids know what they like and what they don't like. And if it's too scary, they won't read it. They're not gluttons for punishment. Nobody forces them to read the funny books. And if it's too intense, then they won't read it. It's a parenting issue, not a comic issue. And for Wortham, for his sake, like Captain says down here, didn't want the government to censor the companies. He wanted the parents to determine what they should and shouldn't read.
Sure, but like I don't want to go too. I do. Wortham does get villainized probably too far, but he did write "Seduction of the Innocent." So yeah. He did title it. I don't want to go too far in the other direction, I guess.
Well, no, he was not, just because he was vilified doesn't mean he wasn't also wrong, right? Okay. And that goes back to my story of Gaines when I interrupted myself, right? Gaines said, "Let's get some real money. Let's have an actual, not a forensic study." Not a case, just let's do the science. Let's actually track these things based on units sold, based on heavy. Let's pay someone to do this. Come on. And everybody was like, nah. And DC and Dell were like, nope, we're just going to have a new code. We're going to make a better code. We're going to do that. And basically just like boxed EC out of the business entirely, just like DC had done to Fawcett 2 years earlier.
Well, again, it makes sense because like EC was, like I said, biting into their
DC and Dell were major partners, I guess, if I remember right, in like one of the major distribution networks. I mean, companies. So like they controlled a lot of the distribution, and then suddenly they had an excuse not to do business with Will Gaines. So Gaines started, kept canceled everything but Mad Magazine. So anyway,
which just recently got canceled.
yes. Well, yeah, that was for a long time though. Actually, they're still selling. They're just not paying anyone to make new Mad Mag. Okay. DC Comics and Warner are still selling old Mad magazines. Like every month they re-release a collection of old Mad stuff, and it goes to the newsstands where you can pick it up while you're buying your groceries. But they're not doing that with DC with old comics, except Mad comics.
Yeah, well, I mean,
we were talking. I think you were on one. We were talking.
I was, yeah. We were talking about, and that was actually one of my main positions. That if you wanted to rescue the current superhero comic book market, you needed to put the comics where people bought them, which was grocery stores and markets and things. Because if comics were if comics were only like $3 or $4 and they were at my local supermarket, I would be buying them, as opposed to having to take like over an hour to try to travel to my comic book store.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Sorry, I derailed the conversation. What are we supposed to be talking about tonight? And who is your guest that I've never met?
This is Paula.
Hi.
And Paula is a writer.
Cool.
You do a little bit of art too. Yeah?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
A little bit.
she was. I always want to have her on. I've had her on before. And she's done Soulbound. Is I read right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is it's like a teen fantasy comic, right? Is that a good way to explain it?
Yes. So this is like a young adult second world fantasy comic. After I've had this story in mind for a long time, and then when I actually got an artist and started publishing it, then I found out that the Japanese are doing this, and they're calling it isekai.
Isekai, yeah.
Yeah.
And
now people are making fun of it because it's kind of gotten a little bit flooded, but I love this kind of story anyway, and there's a good reason why the Japanese have caught on and are exploiting it for all it's worth, and that's fine. I love a good second world story.
I had never heard them called second world stories.
Second world or portal fantasy, or you get to another world.
Yeah. I mean, and I knew, of course, like the genre, everybody knows that the genre exists. That's what, is, Chronicles of Narnia is there. The first branch of the Mabinogion is in Welsh folklore, takes place in the other world.
Princess of Mars.
Princess of Mars, right? Yeah.
Connecticut Yankee.
Yes.
Although it's more of a time travel.
Yeah. Maybe. Anyway.
That's
having boring eyebrows here for some reason.
It's a borderline case because it's King Arthur's court, and that's more of like a mythological, especially the way that it's understood, because it's like there was probably a historical Arthur. It's nothing like any of the legends we have of him.
He was probably much more Roman. if you keep going back.
But King Connecticut's Yankee, the way King Arthur's court is portrayed, you're probably not wrong to call it an isekai, or second world story.
Yeah,
I like isekais. I read a bunch of manga, and so I've read a few of them. So yeah,
he reads a bunch of manga, folks.
I do. I'm a weeb. I'm about. You're interrupting my Higurashi run right now. So
I don't know what that.
You might like my comic. You can buy it.
Where do you sell it?
My website is otherrealmstudio.com, and let's see. I also have Kindle versions up, but I'm selling both digital and physical copies on my website. So this is going to be a 10-issue series with a beginning, a middle, and an end, as good stories should have. And it starts with Becca, who is taken to this other world where her very soul is in danger of sucking her back into the void between the realms, unless, her entire body can make it back with her. So she's got some peril going on right there. Also, this world that she's ended up in is extremely dangerous and full of monsters, myths, and magic.
So
I have 2 issues so far out of my plan 10. I how you make these plans and these schedules and stuff, but then things happen. And I was going to do another Kickstarter for the print run sometime this spring. It's not going to happen, but my artist has excellent reasons that I'm not sure I'm at liberty to disclose just yet. But she's really busy with some huge life stuff right now, and I'm really excited for her. But she is still working on issue 3, which is fully scripted out and it's ready to go. It's just, art's going to take a while.
Just waiting on those artists. I tell you what,
these artists, it's totally worth it to wait for Mia. I don't know if I would wait for me.
So is that what we're talking? Yeah. We're talking about isekais.
We are not actually.
We are not.
We are not.
We are not.
We're just rambling around the thing.
Okay.
Because I do everything really weirdly and backwards, and I'm trying to revive fantasy comics, and I'm trying to start superhero novels. So I'm with Silver Empire Publishing, and I've just released a book called Penance, which is about so this scrappy ex-hench girl who's trying to find her way to a better life, and she gets embroiled in this intergalactic dispute over some human trafficking.
That has a lot of working parts in it. So
it does. My big ambition was to write a novel, and then I got, elbow deep in it, and I'm thinking, oh no, what have I done? But I got all the way through to the end of book 1, and I realized, oh, there's 2 more in this arc. In this whole thing, I'm going to have to do it again twice more.
So I got a couple things. First is that I think if you said you're doing is it Soulbound is the fantasy comic you're doing, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just pulled up your website there. Cool. And I think John De La Rose is actually doing a fantasy he's crowdfunding a fantasy graphic novel right now with a very European-looking style. So I think that with fantasy comics, my personal opinion is that I think that fantasy comics work well when you have a very different style than superheroes. Yes. And the other thing I've noticed, and this is just maybe it's just me, but when I think about really good fantasy comics, I think about Bone by Jeff Smith. I think that one's probably, first off, Bone is just good because it's like one of the best graphic novels ever written, period. But secondly, it's fantastic fantasy. And the thing that I think makes Bone work, where I've looked at even in like adaptations of like the Lord of the Rings in graphic novel form, and I'm like, just isn't working on the same level. And one thing I've noticed is the pacing. Because fantasy tends to, whereas superhero stories are about like immediately hitting you with action. And like, so that it's a very pulpy sort of thing where it's like, hey, 20 pages, hit me. In fantasy, it's usually best when you can take your time, because fantasy, at least as a genre, I think it works better, at least in my experience or in my opinion, when you can really take your time and milk the environment and the scenes. And that's why Bone is so freaking huge by the time you're done with it. It's like, it's the single collection editions are like, what, 1,000, couple thousand pages? Or is it 1,000?
Yeah, I knew I wasn't going to be able to tell this story in less than 10 issues.
Yeah.
I'm also on a strict budget here, so I'm having to write it really tight.
I'm with you there.
So this whole issue 1 is all it's set up. So we go from the fantasy world to the modern world back to the fantasy world, and it sets up. It really sets up a lot of the conflicts that I didn't want to leave out. And then issue 2, we get into a lot more of the action and stuff. And what you were saying about there being a different style, even the art. Hang on, let me see if I can see what I'm doing. So Mia's art here is so fluid and so, very.
Nice.
Oh yeah, it's.
I love that monster design.
They're so alive and almost kind of a liquid quality to the lines, and it's very smooth and just so appealing. I love this so much. And
it's a comic book that Mobius did once, and it was a fantasy piece, and I wish I could remember it because just the things he did. He's a French comic guy, and he. I just when I think about fantasy, I always there's a couple pages that Mobius did. I just go, that's really good. Anyway, so what were we supposed to be talking about?
About the novel.
The novel.
Oh, okay,
yes.
there we go. Okay.
Let me see. So
never mind. I'd rather talk about comics instead.
Let me see if this is going to be.
Well, you can share screen if you're on a computer.
I'm not quite sure where it is. I can look.
The share screen. It's right underneath. Right
my
next
file.
Oh, your file. Oh, okay. Well, I can't help you there.
Okay. Hang on. Wait. Downloads. Not that one. That's the actual book. We don't need to do that.
We're just gonna go through the entire book. We're doing a live reading.
Don't
do a live
that.
reading. Get plenty of water, guys.
Hang on, I gotta minimize that. Minimize that. Where'd it go? What have I done? Okay. Here, I should move you guys up to my second monitor. And now I'm going to be staring at the ceiling when I talk to you instead of, a random direction. Let's see. Oh, wow. I don't need both screens. Just that one.
There we go.
Okay.
There we are.
Right. So, you're still in here. Ha. My upper screen is a lot smaller. So I had to shrink you. Sorry. So this is my main character. I'm really, really pleased with this cover. I just love it so much. So this one is not a self-published project for me, which is kind of crazy and exciting. This is part of the Heroes Unleashed universe from Silver Empire, which is, there are several authors who are doing superhero stories that are set in the same universe, and there's some crossing over, but they're not. There's not a lot of crossing over just yet. It's kind of like in the Marvel universe. You have one team on like Guardians of the Galaxy, and they have their own storyline and they're off doing their own thing, but they might cross over with the X-Men or whoever, or the X-Men might cross over with the Avengers, but mostly they're all doing their own thing. So this one is the first young adult novel in the Heroes Unleashed universe, and there's a little bit of crossing over to the first book in the entirety of the universe, which is Heroes Fall by Morgan Newquist.
And so one of the questions that I have, because I was not aware of this Heroes Unleashed thing before I saw that you had a book published. And so is it all novels?
Yes, it's a novel verse. So it's all series, all novels, all by really fantastic writers. There's so many different styles and different kinds of stories to be told that are still superhero stories, that are still not like the gritty, depressing ones, but actually stories that you want to read, that aren't trying to subvert and deconstruct, but actually build up and create something interesting with superheroes. So mine is, this is Penance on the cover, and she looks exactly like I imagined. I'm so pleased with Silver Empire for finding this artist. I'm starting to do this thing where I just stare at the cover now.
And so they actually hooked you up with a cover artist and everything,
Yeah.
then, huh? So how did you find out about their? Were you like consuming their books ahead of time, or how did you become aware of them?
Okay, so with my self-publishing stuff, I have a universe, the other realm, essentially, that I've created, and each series set in the other realm is in a different era, and there's a steampunk era and a fantasy era and mythical and so on like that. But I had this story about this character, Penance, and the other characters who came along and started merging into her story. And she didn't fit anywhere in this universe that I'd created. So I was thinking, well, I'm never going to find a home for this story. And then I happened to come across I noticed somebody wanted some stories for an anthology that were just a different sort of superhero story. So I wrote out one of the chapters from like the middle that I thought fit the parameters and sent it off, and never heard back from those people. But then the next year, Silver Empire put out a call for the Paragons Anthology, which has now been unpublished, sorry. But this was a collection of superhero stories that, it was intended to not be the depressing, deconstructed stories, but to be paragons, or people trying to do better, or, trying to use superheroes to say something positive about, something positive about humanity for once, because deconstruction had been the trend for a long time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So a lot of these authors that submitted stories to the Paragons Anthology have gone on to do stories for the Heroes Unleashed series. So I was really surprised when they accepted my story for Paragons, and I asked if they wanted the rest of it, and they said, well, if I was willing to put it set this entire story in the Heroes Unleashed universe, then they could definitely see a place for it. And that hadn't occurred to me, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this is the reason why I didn't have a place for Penance in my universe that I'd built. She belongs in their universe that they were building. And it's really coming together fantastically from there.
Let's see here. Okay. I don't know why I changed that. So what is it?
You're holding this up now.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I was looking at here and I was like, man, Twitless's room is boring. Why don't you change that? See as much of it. There you go. There. See, I have two different elements in mind. So
I'm gonna tell my wife, because she's the interior decorator here.
It's fine for a room. I'm talking for a set.
It looks nice. It's just, a little dark, and there's a room.
Well, and it's lovely if you were in the room, but
yeah.
Keep digging.
Yeah.
You're totally not getting invited to
That's
one of my wife's cocktail parties.
I was thank
That's
God.
okay.
I have to stop and say, like, I said that mostly as
I'm
a
kind of
joke.
wondering what color is the wall? It looks like my kitchen.
Oh, okay.
Although maybe it's just the shade.
Let's actually make the whole conversation about my my wife's wonderful interior decorating.
Oh, you have a fireplace.
She's responsible for like all of this. I just live here.
You know,
Why
Um,
aren't you in front of the fireplace?
see,
Well,
that would
You
be
should be-
interesting.
because
Yeah, you could be sitting in that cool chair.
I'm banished to this side of the room though. This is also where I can
What
hook
did
the
you
internet.
do?
I can hook straight up to the my fiber optic internet that I have out in the middle of the country for no reason.
Ooh, I have fiber optic internet out in the middle
really?
of the country for
Right.
no other reason than my husband heard a rumor that they were going to be putting down fiber. And then he called the phone co-op like every couple weeks and said, "Hey, I saw y'all out there working. When you getting down this way?"
A man of
they
vision, I
figured that
approve.
he just really, really wanted it that badly, and they eventually came out here with it.
Oh man, that's amazing.
Persistence. He is
I
nothing
think-
if not persistent.
I think that's amazing. You know what? I'm actually going to move you down here, Paula, because then it looks like you're looking up anyway. And this is
Now we can do the Brady Bunch thing.
there you go. There you go.
Yeah. Because I kind of have to have y'all up here on this monitor. Because if I scoot you down here, then, we get monitor
Yeah.
reception.
All kinds of stuff. So anyway, okay. What is it about the Heroes Unleashed universe that made you feel like Penance was a fit for them? Other than the opportunity that first came up there, obviously. But what was it? Is the specific things about it that made it stick out?
Well, I was looking at how Silver Empire does things, and I thought that the idea of the universe in the first place was a really cool one, where we can do crossovers, and you'll notice that there's a co-author on my cover here. This is Thomas Plutarch, and he is a fictional character who is in universe, and there's kind of a meta story about him, and he's on the he has an Amazon author page, and he's on all the Heroes Unleashed books. So if you read one and you're waiting on the author to write the next one in the series, well, you can just keep going in the universe and explore the whole thing, because right there on Thomas Plutarch's Amazon page, you can find all the books because he's on all of them. And it's really tricky with, okay, you're shuffling a lot.
Well, Twitless just totally dropped out.
I
So when
sorry,
he came back, he dropped to the bottom because
I had to reload my page because everyone's screen was frozen for me.
Oh no.
I've noticed this
That's
only
probably
happens
doing
on.
a weird face too.
It was weird because like you were all talking, but it was just like, it only seems to
Right.
happen on Restream. It's an interesting site.
there's some bugginess. But
Why
anyway,
do you use this again?
because okay.
You can stream in multiple places.
Oh, that's
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 right.
like the whole point of it.
The idea is it goes into a couple of places this time. The other thing is that I've thought about switching back to StreamYard, but like every time it's time for the show, I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up and get on. And this is the one that I'm logged into.
Oh.
It's because I haven't changed it. Another thing.
Yeah. So
that's that. Anyway,
right.
back to the world, Plutarch. And so
Yeah.
him being an author on all of the books allows you to co-sign them on or not sign, but to co-list them through the Amazon setup.
Yeah. And Amazon keeps changing the algorithms, and I don't think they know what they're doing anymore. And it's real easy for your strategy for being seen to suddenly become obsolete. This has lessened that chance significantly. So it's really hard sometimes to make all your books in your lineup. Not just, I mean, one, it's sometimes hard to get all your books in your series by one author to show up.
Mhm.
But sometimes if you have like this entire lineup, they don't even have a way to have a shared universe, you know, to where it would show up in each other's recommended stuff. So I thought that was really, really unique and very innovative. And also, the covers are fantastic. I'm distracted by my cover again. I love it though.
No,
And
I get that, especially like if you have a character in your head.
and she's there. That's her.
Yep.
It's like,
That's been playing around your head for a while. I get that. I know exactly what that's like. I've got several characters who that has through the years ended up, becoming, whatever because of artists coming alongside and giving it their twist. And it's like, yeah, that's the one right there.
My characters become whatever all the time, so I'm definitely with you on that.
No, but what I mean is like specifically like I don't want to look it up right now, but just because I'd have to dead air it to look for it. But the Carl Pencilman, who did I had a commission him do my Tinker Chad, and it's just like exactly what I envision that character to look like. And in Carl's style and everything, it's pretty awesome. But so know exactly what you're getting at with that. Actually, be able to see.
Yeah, she's this person I've been living with in my head for such a long time, and wow, she's actually outside of my own mind now. It's really an impressive thing. I cannot believe that I wrote an entire book. Let's see. So also when I read Morgan's book, Heroes Fall, a lot of the themes, I don't know if they were the same, but they echo, they rhyme. There's a lot of stuff. I really feel like we're not on the same page, but we can definitely be in the same series. Where I feel like writing a story that's going on at the same time as her story, this world does mesh. And, it's kind of hard to explain. I never thought I'd be working with a shared universe, but here we are. And it's really cool. And I love it. And now, if I need place names or extra heroes to come in and do anything, then I have plenty to choose from. So I don't have to build an entire extra universe. I've already got one. I can just riff on what's already here. It's a lot of material.
So with the other folks that are in the Silver line,
Silver Empire Press,
Press,
and the Heroes Unleashed universe.
Right? Are they? They're all. You said like they're all novels. Is anybody looking at doing any comics, or they're just like it's not on the page for them? Like, just curious.
Well, I asked about this way back when I first sent in. Well, when they first accepted penance, I said, "Well, what are the future plans? Are you thinking about doing, audiobooks and graphic novels and everything?" It's just, it would be cool, but right now, I mean, especially with last year being insane, it's just really crazy to get. It's just really crazy to get all that together, and art it's expensive and it takes a long time. So I think everyone would love graphic novels, but yeah, it does not seem at the moment like it's going to be anything that happens soon.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too that like it is a different medium, right? So
Yeah.
there's
It
different
would be
rules, there's
tricky to
different
adapt
textures.
it.
But the other thing that's a real challenge for some of that stuff too, I think, is that the marketing is just not the same. And getting, because I don't know how much crossover there is. I know people that read comics often read books, but I don't know that you're going to be able to get the same. I mean, like a lot of people that I know that read comics, the books they read are history books. They're nonfiction, right? They read their fiction in graphic form and their nonfiction as like long form. And,
so I think there's some challenges. I put it this way, and this is me being as blunt as possible, which is I think it's difficult to pursue a superhero demographic with a prose novel. However, I think it's very easy to target science fiction with powers to young adult audience, because the young adult book audience is pretty big, and speculative fiction where people have cool powers, I think that's there's lots of series. Like just looking at the data, like there's just so many young adult series where people have interesting powers or magic or whatever, and those do so well. People make movies out of them afterwards all the time. So I definitely think that it's definitely a demographic. I think it's about how you frame the demographic, because they've done I remember I was at my public library once, and there's a Spider-Man novel series, I believe. And it's like, it's just like, what? There's Spider-Man prose novels? Totally are. But like people who tend to like Spider-Man tend to only want him in comic book form. So I think it's about how you, and I think the art you have on the cover, I think helps you in this regard. Because when I look at that, I definitely see powers and interesting abilities, which again, I think, is huge. It works really well with young adults. But it doesn't necessarily scream, spandex and tights. So like, I think you're on the right track with that. It's teen heroes. Yeah. So I think if you just my two cents of some random stranger you've just met, but so we all know what that's worth. I definitely think that the teen demographic, Doug Earth says my spider sense just went off. Someone on the internet just said Spider-Man. No, Doug, your spider sense goes off when someone says Dan Slott.
Oh, he had this. That's hilarious. But you did just say Spider-Man.
I know, that's what makes it funny. Hey, Doug.
Oh, and I do think, yeah. I tell you what. But I actually have a shelf full of Batman novels, right? Really? I mean so those things exist. And there was a whole series of Green Hornet novels that were out in the 60s. They've had that kind of thing before.
You've been saving that one. That's some prime memery right there.
Anyway,
Slaughter Octavius.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I have an X-Men novel up here.
Yeah, I've got a Captain America novel.
They write them. I don't think they've caught on.
Well, yeah, what I was going to say is like those exist, right? But they have middling success with some where they sometimes go into second printings with stuff like that. But then you've got like Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, right?
Right.
Which, like, come on, it's the X-Men. Everybody knows it's the X-Men.
Yeah, but it's framed very differently, and because it's framed very differently, I think it catches on better with its intended demographic.
You also have the weird old photo thing, so it's got that like there's a nostalgia to that whole time frame within there too. A visual.
In defense of like the superhero comic is made to be visual. Like when you have those amazing outlandish costumes, it's hard to get that costume across in prose.
Right. Well, and even and here's the thing too, is like for a long time, I mean, up until I think it's probably I don't know, maybe even Iron Man, right? Every attempt to try to do, well, I guess maybe between Superman and Iron Man, virtually every attempt to do realist, like comic book accurate costumes was like a flop in the theater, right? We had to get technology to a place where we could change the way they used palettes in a lot of ways. And that's why
it works for Batman Begins to an extent.
Sort of. That's still not accurate. Like
it's about as far as they went on that sort of like realism thing, and it works for Christopher Nolan's work. That's about as far as you can take it.
Right.
I think.
Right. But I mean, there's the idea. The difference is like the Christopher Nolan's designs are, they are more tactical, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're stylized. But what I'm talking about is like, Adam West's Batman suit was virtually directly out of the comics, and it was cheesy as hell, right? Chris,
but also kind of fantastic.
Yes, for it's in its own way, because of what they were doing with the show. It was. It wouldn't have really worked for like in other ways, but
not gritty Batman.
No. But like when they did like the X-Men, right? And of course, and I also got to say, Blades is also essentially directly out of the comic too, but that's also because Blades' outfit was always a dude.
Blades, that's cheating.
That's like, and like, but at the same time, they did the Phantom movie, and I love the Phantom comics. They're great, flat. But that costume was pretty accurate in the film, and it looked just silly.
Right.
And it was like, and that was the kind of thing. The
Phantom is one of those characters where it's like he's iconic, but his outfit's kind of like some of the DC characters. It's too outlandish to exist anywhere outside of the comic.
Yeah, well, and part of the problem I think with the Phantom too is that they put everything in New York City, so they didn't have any of it. Like they weren't on the island. They weren't, there wasn't any of that
jungle
kind of
settings
stuff.
where it doesn't quite look as
where
because Phantom does a lot of jungle stuff, right? And so it's like,
exactly. And I think they were wanting to avoid the accusation of what's the word?
Racism?
Well, no, but it's not racism specifically. It's a specific thing that gets tagged as racism. Exotifying.
Right, yeah.
Right. Exotifying the thing.
The exotic other.
Exactly.
Is the academic way of putting it.
But that's part of the appeal of the story, really.
Right.
I seem to recall there was a Dick Tracy movie.
Yes.
Very bright.
Yes.
Very theatrical.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to dig that up and watch it again. But I remember thinking that it worked well because if you're going to go with comic accurate costumes and colors and especially something with such a sharp visual style like the Dick Tracy comic, I loved that style.
So I think Dick Tracy.
If you're going to go, then what you need to do with it is you need to go theater style and make everything stylized, and not try and plop those people into gritty real world New York or wherever. It's not going to work.
I think Dick Tracy works because where the Phantom didn't work, right? You have his outlandish costume, and he's in normal New York, and it's and the contrast is too much. Whereas if he's in the jungle, he doesn't contrast as much because he's in this exotic location. In the Dick Tracy movie, I watched some clips recently. They put everyone in the film. They basically made the entire setting and all the characters look kind of outlandish. And so the context of the whole movie is that way. So I think
one of the other things too is
stylistically matched.
Yeah.
Right, because everyone, including not just the main characters, but the side characters, and everyone is acting kind of kooky and comic booky. So it's not just one character who's standing out in his crazy outfit. It's everyone is basically part of the milieu of this Dick Tracy verse. So I think
the other thing I think about it that worked in Dick Tracy too, and it's been a long time since I've seen it, but they also took the idea I mean, the palette is extreme, right? So there's lots of bright colors on the characters and lots of dark colors in the settings, right? And I think that one of the things that you have there is at the time, there's a limitation of technology based on how they could do prosthetics, and everything's got prosthetics. But I think that the lighting actually helped the prosthetics not look like they didn't belong. I think they did a really good job of using all those elements to fit it in there, in a way that, like, the technology didn't exist to do an Iron Man movie until 2007. You know what I'm saying? Like, anything before that would have looked like the Clone Wars. It just would have looked fake. And they did a good way of being able to blend digital and practical effects in those movies, in a way that allowed us to take the outlandish superhero costumes and suddenly make them not seem silly.
Yeah,
and also,
you have to have your styles have to blend between your people and your setting.
In building the Marvel universe, so they start with like the more practical ones, like, oh, of course it looks like crazy outlandish because it is crazy outlandish. It's Iron Man. Oh, and suddenly once you allow an Iron Man in your universe, then a Hulk, then a Thor, and then you're like, well, sure, Captain America with the wings on his helmet. Maybe that's not so weird.
Well, Marvel was made later. Marvel's always had a little bit of more of an edge in regards to its style meshing a bit better, because they were, several decades after DC, and so DC always feels like it's a little more out of time because it's a couple like generations predates it. So just the aesthetics are different. And by the time they'd hit Spider-Man and some of those other heroes, the superhero was not just an experiment, because back in the early days of DC, a lot of the superheroes they were doing, they were just throwing stuff at a wall to see what sticks, and that including like colors and things. So that's why some of the DC heroes were so garish. Yeah,
well, I think part of that too is they were trying to just make everything look super distinct, and really fast, because of the production schedule was stupid in the 30s and 40s because they were making so much stuff so quickly, and everybody who was doing it was just like some kid who was trying to pay off his art school. So it was a whole thing there. But one of the things I think, looking at like some of the powers kind of superhero stuff that isn't superhero stuff, like we're talking about with like Ms. Peregrine's, and also looking at like the TV show Heroes, right, which kind of falls into that same kind of thing. They're
Cartoonicus loves Heroes. That was that was like his jam.
Oh, I really liked Heroes until the second half of season 2, and it never really picked up after that.
I have mixed feelings about the whole show.
We'll have to have a show just talking about stuff like that later on.
You need to invite Taylor. Yeah, he'll have.
Yeah. I'm because I want to go back and rewatch it actually. Because it's pretty interesting to me. But moving on from that, but one of the things that they did have is they had almost no superhero costumes in the thing, right? It was all about people with powers, and I've been a huge fan of. And I know, like in comic book circles, sometimes it's mocked a little bit, but the idea of the tacticool, right? That real life superhero gear, like you could get whatever. And I think for some characters it works really, really well. And I think, of course, sometimes I think a more traditional superhero costume works well. But
so I am gonna have costumes and specialized outfits in the series, and it is a superhero universe, and a lot of the characters do have costumes, but it depends on the series, it depends on the author, it depends on the characters. And one thing that I'm doing, I'm really trying to focus on in mine is exactly how does the costume interact with the powers? How is it really useful instead of them just getting out there trying to attract attention? So Penn ends up with an invisibility suit that she's technically kind of not supposed to have, and she goes off AWOL and on this mission that she's technically not supposed to be going on, and she's getting in all kind of trouble. And she at first, invisibility suit works fantastic, lab conditions awesome, and she's like, this thing's really great, and I can just leave and I can come back. Nobody will miss me for hours and hours and hours. It'll be awesome. She ends up way over her head, and she discovers that this thing collects dust like nobody's business, and it just turns the whole thing black. So no invisibility suit permanently for Penn, but later on she will get one that helps her regulate her plasma abilities and prevents a certain really horrific thing that happens to her in the first book, because there's drawbacks to everything. And so she's got these plasma generating powers. It's a lot of electromagnetic energy, and she can gen up a lot, and she doesn't even know what the limits of her own powers are. But one of the things that stops her from cooking herself is the fact that her skin, as it also has a sort of an oily film that that's like a superconductor and prevents her from getting shocked with her own electricity. So if she gets a costume that will do the same thing without having to rely on her biology, then she'll be safer. And she'll be able to control the entire aspect of her abilities a lot better. And that's another thing that's going on with her, is that she's had a really cruddy life, and she gets her butt handed to her all the time in this book. I feel really terrible that I have done this. And so one of the things that she's dealing with, because of her life being so uncertain and because of her powers being so dangerous, she starts to get these panic attacks. And then if she gets too stressed, then it sparks off all the electronics in the area, explodes light bulbs, there goes the microwave, everything kind of gets destroyed, and she's got to leave another place and be on the run again. So her powers create so many problems. They just keep hitting her again and again and again, and she's just got to learn how to deal with her own self. So yeah.
So, and this is a thing where this is really interesting to me too, because you were talking about, especially tying the name in here, but a kind of a redemption story. Mm-hmm. Somebody who had been a ne'er-do-well, a henchman. Is that the kind of idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's been raised by this really horrible person, and she kind of has to do a lot of stealing just to survive. And she can pick electronic locks, she can copy RFID chips, she can manipulate electromagnetic fields and get into places. So that's what she's been doing most of her life. But this time there's a hero named Justice, which we find out later is more of a title for his position. And he's been looking into some girls who've been kidnapped, quite definitely, possibly by her boss. And he happens to have very similar powers to Penance's. But what she can do is she can copy almost any electrical phenomena that she comes across. So she can create a psychic feedback loop that will devastate this other hero. And somehow her boss knows this. And he says, well, you have a new kind of job today. You're going to go out and kill this guy. And that's the last straw for her. I mean, it doesn't stop her from doing her very best to kill him. But she has decided that she doesn't want to go off on any more of these. Because once you kill one person, then, well, what's going to stop you from being sent to assassinate the next one and the next and the next? And when are you ever going to escape? So she's done. And it goes horrifically wrong for her a lot, but she's trying.
It's really interesting. So now, the first volume is already out, right? And
Yes.
is that available for purchase on Amazon, you said? And are there other platforms as well, or?
Right. So it's on Kindle on Amazon.com, and also you can go to the publisher's website, silverempire.org, and look it up there, and they have it set up to where you can order paperback or hardback or get an ebook from them. They also have a book club. That's another one of their innovative things that they're doing to get more readers and reviewers in. So, yeah, I've already gotten some good reviews and a few ratings on it. I'm really excited that it's getting such positive feedback already.
Cool. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my brain just died on me. Twitless, any questions?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, Paula, since you're a writer, can you write a eulogy for Reese's brain that just died?
It was a good brain.
That's true.
So many thoughts left to say, so many thoughts left unsaid.
Oh, that's probably true.
Cut short.
Well, I guess it's this. Yeah. Anyway, it's almost 9 anyhow, so we should probably look at wrapping it up anyway. Before you go, and do you have? I'm going to go ahead in the chat once again. Share our hour 1 guest. That's Aaron Rolovsky and his comic graphic novel in process. Enron, or Enenra, not Enron. That's a whole different thing.
Read my Enron graphic novel.
Enenra. I was trying to go off memory, and my memory was wrong. Enenra.
It's a real gas, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a
Your brain really is dead. That wasn't funny.
Oh man, that was...
It's getting late, y'all.
I like puns. Leave me alone. Okay. Anyway, Enenra, which is available, and actually, one thing I was looking at on the thing. It's surprisingly affordable for what you guys are getting, folks. $10 for 60 pages. Come on. So that's pretty good. So it's like $10 for two issues at 30 pages a piece, pretty much. So that's a pretty good price there as far as crowdfunded books. So definitely worth checking out on there. And the first 12 pages you can download and check out for free on the Kickstarter. Paula, of course, and do you have a URL for your publisher?
Hang on a second. Let me. Okay. All right. It is silverempire.org. Let me see. Let's boost that. Screen one.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, so you can see the whole collection here. There's my book. Hang on. There it is. So you can see I've got 3 reviews already. You can get the ebook, the paperback, the hardcover, and they also have the Silver Empire Book Club. And let's see, we've already got reviews. So there, I'm averaging out to 4.7 stars. I'm really excited about this.
Cool.
Yeah,
So they actually have a whole bunch of books here.
Yes, they're doing fantastic. There was another press called Superversive Press that had a lot of really excellent books by John C. Wright and Jaji Lamplighter. And when Superversive had to shut down, then Silver Empire picked up most of those authors. So that was really fantastic, because now those books get to stay in print, and they get new cover art and stuff. Let's see here. Let's see, superheroes. They have a whole category of superheroes in here, and this is where you can find all the books so far that are set in the Heroes Unleashed universe. So these are by Ben Chia, whose actual name I can't really pronounce, but he goes by Ben, and he's a fantastic writer. This is very the Hollow City series is it's a very tense thriller noir kind of police procedural thriller with superpowers in it. Let's see, here's Heroes Fall by Morgan Newquist, and this one's about a former sidekick who's uncovering the mystery of what happened when the heroes that used to protect their series, the heroes that used to protect their city broke apart. And let's see, I have not read Overlook by John Mollison, but I need to. And there's Gemini Warrior, which sounds absolutely fascinating, by J.D. Cowan, and Richard W. Watts, and The Last Archon, which is like more of a magic world focused one, which kind of so far is, from what I've heard from him about it, it sounds a lot more like the Doctor Strange kind of end of the spectrum of the superhero universe. So there's so much going on already in this series, and I highly recommend all these authors.
Cool.
Oh, and all these covers. Okay, I'm getting distracted by the covers. I know how hard it is to do a good cover.
That's great. So there you go, guys. That's been the stuff. Twitless, thanks for coming on. I'm sorry I didn't get a hold of you till today.
Nice meeting you.
Good to meet you too. Do we get to shill?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Okay. I like to shill. Give me a second. All right.
Should I unshare here? We are shuffled.
Okay, so this is superschooled.com. This is the superhero comedy high school webcomic that I do with a buddy of mine. I think that strip just went up just a few minutes ago. But we're doing a new storyline dealing with the repercussions of the heroes and villains' journey through time. We completely broke our timeline. And unlike other fiction where it's like, oh, you have to like reset everything so the status quo is the same, we were like, I went, nope, the status quo is now forever broken. So they had broken the timelines that dinosaurs ruled the earth, and now dinosaurs are just like walking around downtown in suits and stuff. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, so we're dealing with some of the repercussions of our completely borked timeline, and I love it. so
here's the thing, like, talking about total side note. This is one of those things where I love crossovers and I love universes. I love those kind of things on it. We've done some crazy things in our little teen web comic as well, but time travel is one of those things we just do not do.
With good reason.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, that is I absolutely would love to have I don't know, man. That's crazy. Like that dinosaurs just walking around with people today.
Yeah, well,
that's amazing.
I'm a sucker for dinosaurs anyway, and I always hate it where it's like, oh, dinosaurs rule the earth, but no, we're gonna reset everything. I was like, screw that.
Oh, that's great. That's amazing.
You made your bed, now lie in it.
Yep. You're gonna lie in it forever.
Well, and that's like one of those things where I don't know. It's a whole thing.
No. Let me show you the previous strip really fast to show you how broken we destroyed the timeline. So in this previous strip, we're doing a Jurassic Park joke, except the dinosaurs were ruling the earth, and so we patched it up where the dinosaurs no longer enslave humanity, but they're still kind of in charge of everything. And so they're running the museum, and as opposed to having like the T-Rex like exhibit from Jurassic Park, there's just a big fat guy with a cell phone, and they're like, when humans ruled the earth. So they're just the dinosaurs are running the asylum now.
The lizard people.
Yep, and we're just running with it. So I don't know. This tickles me, so I'm enjoying it.
Oh man, that's ridiculous.
So I wanted to share that, and then really fast, I just got just the other day, I got some more art to share for Omega Girl, which is my superhero comic. Really fast. Serious
superhero comic.
Yeah, serious, you guys. But this is a cover for issue 2. Which I just need to, I think, put together the lettering for, and it'll basically be done. And I've been kind of busy, so I have not yet officially listed issue 1, but I'm pretty much ready to get that going as well.
Very cool.
Did you get the share?
Yeah. Let me jump to the other screen. I was checking something on a different screen quick.
Oh, no, sorry.
No, it's fine.
Here we go. Okay, so this is my cover for Omega Girl issue 2, a classic superhero story. Just because I love superheroes and I love superhero storytelling and fun. This is she's a paragon with super strength and a lot of Superman's powers, but just in my own superhero universe and stories with a lot of classic fun, but we're building up to some interesting twists. So if you want to be at the ground level of an interesting superhero universe or storytelling, I guess I haven't quite gotten to the universal level, but just classic superhero storytelling adventure fun is basically what I'm going for. So Amanda Shields and her alter ego Omega Girl protect Angel City from the forces of Jackal, anyone who comes to threaten it. She does so with power and grace and even a little bit of redemption, because she's always trying to reach out to the villains that are and trying to kind of get them to change their ways. So that's my pitch. I'm working on it.
Yeah, pitches are hard. So,
yeah.
I will say that as far as stuff that is in the works right now, you have about a day left right now to look at on Kickstarter. And I don't have a thing put up there, but Nick Mueller's Demon Hunter Raven is on there. There is a new chapter 1 interlude that I've co-written with Nick. So you want to check out that in his universe. I play around there. You can also check my stuff in our universe out at idealcomics.net, where you have links to blog reviews we have of other people's comics. We've got in-universe stuff there. We have links to Forces of Good and Evil in color being released on Webtoons. You can go read the entire original in its original form over at forceofgoodandevil.net as well. And I did go ahead and look up this I wasn't going to share this, but I am anyway. Right there. This is our hero, Chad, Chad the Tinker, in just very street clothes, but it's actually a superhero costume. It's got the logo on and everything else, but it's welder sleeves and carpenter pants because Chad can fix anything. That's his power.
That's his power. I was
Yeah.
curious.
Is that he could fix anything.
I can respect this sort of power.
Oh yeah. He has it's intuitive aptitude. He just knows how things work and can fix them. So
It's my dad.
yeah. So also I've I will tell you, speaking of isekai though, in the future, like I just finished the most recent Force story we just wrapped up. It's the 25th story in the thing. Takes place just before Chad goes back to school for his senior year. And his mother was kidnapped by a supervillain and snatched away to the other world. And the realm of Celtic legends and demigods.
Oh wow.
And a story coming up in the future will be Chad venturing into the other world to rescue his mom. And so that's going to be happening someday. So that's down the road. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be more recent than that, but best way to check it out. Also, we have a Discord for Ideal Comics. We've got some room chatter going on there. And if you follow me on social media, I'll be posting up another invite probably today for people to follow up on that. If you want to, I don't have one ready for the chat now. So that's that. Anyway, we're going to call that a show. Thank you so much for coming along, guys. And next week, I do not remember the dude's name is coming on to talk here. Let me look. I've got it sitting here. David Dube is coming on to talk about his comic that he's getting ready to crowdfund. And he's going first hour. I don't have a second hour guest yet, so who knows what we'll do. I'd be tempted to see if Cartoonicus would want to have a heroes discussion, but I'm not sure we can fit that into an hour.
Yeah, that's definitely something you want to have a little. Well, you can always do it in parts. I don't know.
Yeah, that seems lame. But yeah, that's it. And I do know that we're looking at, I think, 2 weeks out from there, we're having another old guy stream. It's not firm yet, but people are interested in doing that. It's probably that.
Is that the one where we're going to fix comics? Where we fix comics again?
Another one.
Okay,
Fix Comics Part 2.
All right, so I have to be. I was there for Part 1, so I have to,
Yeah, it's the whole. I want to have the whole crew back again.
I have to ruin Part 2.
Yeah, because a bunch of people were like, "I have so much more to say." Okay, that's cool. I'm always looking for people to add to my show, so that's great. I need content and I can't pay for them. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and we will catch you later. Bye.
See you later.